Hello, everyone. This is Erica, and I would like to talk to you about the importance of empathy. Um, we live in a hierarchical, authoritarian, global society, and if we want to change that, we need to have unity consciousness. Um, the thing about anarchism is probably the most misunderstood um, theory and ideas um, probably in human history. And even people who are into New Thought, New Age spirituality is against it, as well as just average people. Could the same be said about empathy? Are people who care about humanity and people who care about the state of humanity, are we social justice warriors? Are we special snowflakes? Are we butthurt crybabies? Are we weak? I don't think we're weak. If anything, we're a lot more stronger than we think. You see, the thing about anarchists is anarchists are against hierarchy. We are against any sort of unjustified authority over us. Um, but living in such and such a society and making sure that um, we still have freedom and we don't, go to prison, I mean, some would sacrifice and things like that. I, however, am a philosophical, cultural, spiritual, um, pacifist anarchist. Not only does that mean it's legal, um, it means also when it comes to direct action, I would rather go about it in a very intellectual manner. Noam Chomsky most certainly comes to mind when um, he called it intellectual direct action, and I feel comfortable doing it that way. As Nelson Mandela once said, education is probably the most powerful weapon that you can, to change the world. Um, but I have, like, as I mentioned in a previous blog post called New Age Hierarchy, as well as my many criticisms of Twin Flames 1111 and the website in5d.com, um, which it doesn't necessarily mean they're the only ones. There could be many. Likewise, when I talk about two particular cyberbullies who bring me down, and they're about 40 years old and looking completely and utterly pathetic, continuing to do so, they're most certainly not the only ones. In fact, they might as well have worked with other fascists on 4chan for all I know. And this hierarchical system, you know, wants to alienate you into obedience and submissiveness. They don't like those who think outside the box. Furthermore, looking at it from a personality type perspective, there are more sensors than there are intuitives. Likewise, I believe that this hierarchical system is most certainly an extroverted sensor catered society, which an introverted intuitive would feel alienated from. Um, and the certain types that I would most certainly disagree with is ST and TJ types. Um, I happen to be an INFP. I happen to be a Pisces. Um, and numerology is pretty much like many fives and nines and whatnot. But um, the thing of it is it's like there's this quote. I forgot who said it, but the quote goes something like, "If you want to know who rules over you, um, find out who you are not allowed to question." Um, in a hierarchical sense, which is very interesting because whenever I get a thumbs down in any of these videos, um, whenever I get nasty comments from any of my videos, I know that I am doing a great job, even though maybe it's not getting as many views and subscribers and things like that. I'm always thankful for whatever I can get, because it's not to boost my ego. It's out of self-expression, if it's the arts or things I believe in. And there's another quote that also bears in mind, which is, believe in yourself even if you're the only one. So, it's very interesting what would be considered taboo. In other words, is like YouTube most certainly becoming a invaded by the right and fascism. It's interesting because it really seems like politics are off the table. Any criticism of like all right-wingers are fascists is off the table, and criticisms of Trump is off the table. Let's see, any criticisms of cyberbullying is off the table. And any criticisms of Boris Johnson, of Ben Shapiro is off the table. It is so ridiculous. And I'm not just talking about Ben Shapiro, because, you think about Ben Shapiro out of many things. Like, I probably mentioned this before, but, Ben Shapiro criticized John Lennon's Imagine. And the thing is John Lennon wouldn't take likely to, any kind of authoritarian. Like, there's quotes, like, there was this Rolling Stone interview from the early 70s where John Lennon is just, like, he was pretty much anti-authoritarian. He was most certainly, as Abby Hoffman mentioned, John Lennon was a socialist. There is an interview, one of John Lennon's last interviews, where John Lennon was covering it up, pretty much looking right-wing, almost like he gave up on being a leftist. But it's because Nixon was stalking him and things like that, tapping his phone and whatnot, and it scared the daylights out of him. And that's when John Lennon backed down. But, the thing of it is, as a good friend has told me before she passed, that, if you really think about it, those who, like, believed in humanity and believed in peace were the ones who got murdered. Jesus Christ could most certainly be nailed to a cross by authority that blamed, oppressed minority religious group, aka Jewish people, and editing the Bible and making Jesus look more authoritarian than the leftist, the spiritual leftist he was most certainly was. And then you had Martin Luther King Jr. getting murdered, John Lennon. There's a pattern here, but there is, like, people still care about them. Unfortunately, it's kind of a very kind of liberalized way of looking at them. Like Martin Luther King Jr. Day, John Lennon's remembered for his music more than his peace protests, and kind of going to the point of anarchism, may I say? Perhaps John Lennon was an anarchist. Like John Lennon had mentioned a lot of these ideas in this video that was based on a candid interview from, or I don't know if it was real. I don't think it was candid. I think John Lennon knew about it. It was released, definitely years after his passing. The video is called "I Met the Walrus," which is very interesting. And John Lennon even said in many interviews, like, people are blaming the government. Well, we allow them to be there. And of course, songs like "Power to the People," etc. And, there are most certainly quotes like, that I can most certainly relate to, which is, I see humans, but I don't see humanity. Or what Linus said in The Peanuts, aka Charlie Brown. I care about mankind. It's people I can't stand. And there's so many liars in this world, especially the internet. Dark triad, narcissists, sociopaths, psychopaths, and whatnot. And, if you want the truth about anything, all you have to do is listen to your intuition and your heart. And when it comes to these hierarchical institutions, they don't want you to listen to your intuition at all. They don't want you to have empathy. There are New Agers that most certainly don't want you to listen to the intuition of, they don't want you to have empathy or anything like that. They want you to be in this happy bubble where you don't care about other people and everyone else's problems are their own. And that's something that I've heard a lot about when it comes to New Thought, New Age, a lot of, New Agers and whatnot. I don't think it necessarily needs to be that. I mean, there doesn't necessarily need to be a fixed doctrine. I mean, look at, other religions, I mean, even look at, Christian anarchists. I would believe a Christian anarchist would take a hierarchy that they spot out of the Bible and just, go about it in a very anarchist way. And so, therefore, I'm a spiritual anarchist, because I believe that, if I take the hierarchy out of spiritualism, out of New Thought, New Age spirituality, then, there's what it's always meant to be, spirituality, and not hierarchy. Because if there was hierarchy in spirituality, it would no longer be spirituality. It would be a religion. It would be a cult. So, anyway, there's people who, they just cannot stand people who complain. And they want people to suck it up and obey orders. But, here's the thing about fascism. Fascism only wants you to focus on 5 senses outside of you. And they want you to, any sort of creativity, any sort of intuition, any sort of empathy, they say that's imaginary and it's not real, and that should be ignored in your mind, and only things from the 5 senses are real. And I disagree with that completely. Anyway, Cassidy Kane of Twin Flames 1111 has came out with a new $2 book. Wow, $2. How can I possibly complain about that? Especially where I have complained in the past about her digital products, even though I am the sucker who would buy them because I have a Twin Flame in Twin Flame Ascension, even though I am pretty much coming to the point where I can pretty much say, thank you, Cassidy, bye-bye, I'll take my journey from here. But because the $2 book happens to be about the zodiac and about personality types, of course, like anyone who has a website can see a search bar and they can go ahead and see things. And okay, hey, I know, I'll earn some money off of that. So, I am going to read, well, I've done this in the previous video, but, again, kind of questioning a lot of stuff that Cassidy believes in, and let me just say first and foremost, this is by no means any sort of libel or slander against Cassidy Kane or Twin Flames 1111, even though anyone who is earning money off of spirituality would automatically be seen as a fraud to the masses. There are a lot of spiritual narcissists, so I'm only expressing my opinion and mine alone, and people can do whatever they want, but as an anarchist, I do not believe that hierarchy is the answer. And perhaps my intuition and my psychic ability was kind of, it's kind of like you dig a hole, and, there's this, like, kind of rough substance where you can't dig anymore. You found something. And I noticed when I was doing, like, these videos and things like that, the more and more Cassidy was starting to show her true colors, in my opinion. So either she is a spiritual narcissist, or a really brainwashed into this, like, New Age dogma, and the like. But the one thing is for sure, I have talked to my spirit guides, and I have gotten some insight, but I won't share it in this video. But one thing I will share is my spirit guides have always told me I was guided to Twin Flames 1111 only to use that as a resource of study, so I can learn about my twin flame and things like that, and not to, always allow a second opinion, always think for myself, always listen to my spirit guides, first and foremost. And I feel like everything in my life I was spiritually guided to, from, coming out, to, my twin flame, to anarchism, things like that. And it isn't like a hierarchy sense where it's like, I should be trans? Okay. It was never like that. I always listened to my heart and my intuition. Anyway, I'm going to read some of the things. Like, I remember getting a comment a while back from Cassidy, right before I got blocked from the Twin Flames 1111 Instagram. Considered anything I write on the comments section of the Twin Flames 1111 blog, it would be considered as spam, and I'm totally disabled from commenting on the Twin Flames 1111 Facebook page. And I shall not shed a tear and cry you a river. But right before she did that, she did, write a comment, which is, follow your bliss. If others aren't aligned, it's because your paths weren't meant to cross. If we judge others, we create complicated karma, and any, conflict and issues. I'm just kind of skimming through this, by the way. Conflict and issues with other people signals that we have unresolved wounds, and the world is all a dream, and there's no such thing as bad or good in spiritual terms. And, under Pisces, which I am, in her $2 book, I actually written down notes of a lot of points that I thought were kind of interesting. First off, it really does seem like Pisces, I don't know, is most INFP's Pisces. A lot of the stuff mentions definitely truths. However, there was a lot of what I believe to be New Age hierarchy throughout. Almost kind of like a brainwashing technique, really, and emotional manipulation. Some of the quotes include, However, like having sympathy for others and being an empath and things. However, this can be the very thing that causes problems for you because of your energetic openness and sensitivity. So basically, like she would like mention that any sort of like empathy for others and caring about humanity would cause like me to never reach union with my twin flame. And my twin flame definitely disagrees with this stuff too, as me and my twin flame has talked about in telepathy. And like that's basically a lot of what she's saying is any sort of empathy for others is bad, and and you should only care about your own life, like individual self-concern. Screw any sort of collective self-concern, and just be happy material wise. And that's exactly what I challenged in my spiritual anarchism versus twin flame video. Now, excuse me, spiritual. I'm sorry. This might as well be, and the other ones might as well be spiritual anarchist versus twin flames 1111 video. I am a twin flame. Take two. You get a blooper reel for free. Anyway, a lot of this I have talked about in my spiritual anarchism, versus the secret video. That's what I meant to say. So yeah, like it's crazy. And as I read this again this morning, the thought that came to mind is, does Cassidy Kane just not trust people? Or maybe it's not her own individual thing. Maybe it's just this kind of, brainwashed, New Age hierarchy. And which, most certainly says that on the Wikipedia pages. And that's like, that's really how I can just summarize this, in a nutshell. Going back to what I was saying about anarchism, and probably why anarchism is so misunderstood, is because, first off, no gods, no masters, meaning, no hierarchical authority over you, and also what could be possible if people trust one another. Now, people think that's absolutely crazy. I mean, there's like, narcissists all the time. Narcissists, more than 1%, obviously. You have those who have money and power in terms of tanks, where you have those who don't, only have emotional manipulation and probably violence. And that's the thing about hierarchy, is hierarchy uses violence to get their way. If it's physical violence, if it's death threats, if it's trolling, if it's cyberbullying, if it's putting a thumbs down on this very video, if it's someone, pretending to be me, if it's someone like putting my videos on someone's playlist and pretending to be, someone they are not, stealing someone's identity, and commenting on every single spitting image video that happens to be on YouTube. Even though that particular name isn't even them, it was someone that they bullied 10 years ago, and they are either obsessed, sad and miserable 40-year-olds, or it's just a network of, 4chan, in which was started by those very pathetic and very sad toxic masculinity 40-year here. You get a blooper reel for free. I told you about that. 40-year-olds. But anyway, the thing about anarchists is that, hierarchy causes every single political problem. And if people had more heart for humanity, and they started to focus on the importance of humanity, especially where capitalism causes climate change, as well as destroying, causing people alienation and isolation, and people resulting to addictions such as drugs and sexual addictions, and drinking, and to the point of suicide, really. And and also, why there are people who are lonely, why people are so codependent when it comes to relationships, and desperate relationship breakup, oh, the love of my life has died, gotta get remarried, and just not feeling comfortable in terms of self-love and self-care and things like that. As I mentioned before, when it comes to New Thought, New Age spirituality, and anarchism, both most certainly have things that they have in common. Both support the idea of people living the life of their dreams and to be happy and not to allow anyone to, like think bad thoughts of themselves, and self-confidence, really. But the thing is, it's like it really does seem that I side more with anarchism than spirituality. But the thing about spirituality is I do believe law of attraction does work. I mean, how would you explain the coincidences and ironies of life and angel numbers like 1111 or 222 or 555? And also I have a twin flame, so I really don't have much choice. And if there was anything to describe the spiritual experience and Kundalini awakening and so forth, it would probably be paranormal, in realism terms, lacking better words, I suppose. But the thing about like anarchism is that like we need to get rid of hierarchy if we want what we want in this world. People think, oh, communism and socialism and anarchism and leftists, oh, they're going to leave us poor because you're unstable feelings and you want to get rid of free speech. And no. The thing is like, if you want true freedom, like literally beyond the so-called lie of free countries, you should take a look at anarchism. I strongly suggest the Anarchist FAQ. The possibilities are endless. And spiritual anarchism, that's like just a great extension to that, a great add-on to that. Because law of attraction says you create your life with your thoughts and your feelings. So, I mean, whoa, what a great extension that is. And like, in terms of law of attraction, like, I think the big question, as I was questioning in The Secret, is, do we manifest only our individual lives and not, However, if like energy attracts like energy, what if there's unity consciousness to an anarchist society, and such positive energy would not only succeed in an anarchist society, but even generate a 5D Earth, because the energy would be so strong. I mean, no gravity, time, space realities would just, freeze over. There would be no death death and rebirth and light and reincarnation. There would be like, the spirits would come back from the dead. There probably wouldn't be a violent rupture like the Book of Judgment Day and whatnot, and the four horsemen of the apocalypse. None of that, and perhaps everything would just kind of transcend into sort of a hologram aspect where things won't get broken, and things can be enjoyed, and things like that. And probably our manifestations would like manifest things, beyond our wildest dreams. We want to watch TV, no problem. Kind of like this, hologram, but nothing, nothing that seems kind of fuzzy or anything, just clear as day. Incredible. But anyway, kind of going back to the whole thing about empathy, I think it challenges masculinity. because it really does seem that the whole thing about the superiors, the white the white cisgender heterosexual men being the superiors and things like, they're they're cisgender heterosexual men that are against the whole dogma of the macho alpha male and things like that. I've also explained before, as a trans woman, that there's a separation between the body, male or female, sexual orientation, which could be anything. It can be like, non-labeled. It could be, bi. It can be lesbian. It can be gay. It could be pansexual. It could be polyamorous, monogamous, aromantic, asexual. It could be like, and then you have the gender identity. It could be man, woman. It could be 2, 3-spirited, trigender, non-labeled, genderqueer, non-binary, a little bit in between. I happen to be non-binary as well as my twin flame, and as well as being lesbians and everything. And then you have your gender expression, which is feminine, androgynous, feminine, androgynous masculine, all the above, androgynous, and things like that, all separate. And I probably addressed this before, and I'll say it again. There's a thing where when you challenge these hierarchies and things like that, people don't want to think different. Probably because their abusive authoritarian parents smacked them, and it kind of reminds me of Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall. Like, I gotta see the movie, but the music video, I think was part of the movie, where you had just that old-fashioned teacher just spanking the life out of the students, and humiliating the student with his poem, and just just shouting, if you don't eat your meat, you don't get any pudding, and just just being very totalitarian and things like that. And it's interesting, any sort of hierarchy is good for nothing, and perhaps toxic masculinity is afraid of feelings and things like that. Oh, I know. Maybe ask Trump if there could be a war on feelings, right? I mean, I did a comic recently of this mega hat guy who's just naked and on all fours with a chain around his neck, and just just on all fours on dirt, and just praising how, yeah, America, land of the free, home of the brave, and just being like that. In other words, these people who, I mean, first off, if they're challenged, they don't have anything really to really debate, because they're debunked all the time, especially Ben Shapiro. So, of course, when they do their own, say, hey, leftists debunked, trans people debunked, that's just siding with them, even though they can, because they're not the intellectual ones, and it's just a bunch of, just psychopaths getting away with what they want. But, there you go. This hierarchical system. It doesn't do anything to get rid of psychopaths and sociopaths and narcissists and sadistic bullies and anti-authoritarian, excuse me, did I say anti-authoritarian? No, that's a good thing. I'm sorry. Take 3 or 4, whatever. I'm sorry. Let me start again. You gotta laugh at yourself. You just got to. Because we all make mistakes. You don't have to bash yourself with a brick or anything. Anyway. This hierarchical authoritarian society allows psychopaths and sociopaths and narcissists and dark triad and sadistic bullies and the authoritarian personality, which I meant to say, And, cyberbullies online and offline, the antisocial, which I also meant to say, the antisocial bullies. And they dominate people through fear. Probably because they live in fear and hate themselves. Because their parents had told them that. And their parents, and their parents, and their parents, and their parents, and their parents. To the point where people believe that hierarchy is normal. People want a quick, easy fix. And the thing of it is you gotta listen to your heart and your intuition. I mean, how do I stay sane with all this stuff, right? Sometimes you gotta, dedicate time to self-care and get away from all this craziness. I also believe a satirical sense of humor and a dark sense of humor most certainly helps cope with this crazy world, and perhaps that's what summarizes satire and humor, and in even artistic expression, which Philistines hate. Literally. I mean, you know what Nazis did? They had a whole museum where they had anti-authoritarian art, and they were shaming it and things like that. They were making fascist toys for kids. It is insane. But anyway, like, the thing, like, kind of, as I mentioned with Cassidy's comments about you're not supposed to know another person's soul path. Oh, why? Am I going to go to hell? It's, Zodiac, numerology, Myers-Briggs. I mean, if you see the patterns, you can definitely, figure it out. Cassidy Kane is starting to become more and more of an INTJ. She's either a spiritual narcissist, psychic, energetic vampire, or she is a kind of a new age lunatic. But I'm starting to kind of think that perhaps spiritual narcissist is best, because they can rake in the money and live in Malibu. And the thing too is, like, this authoritarian society, they can call out the flag, which is a term that I am using relating to Noam Chomsky's manufacturing consent. And they can shame individuals and McCarthyism, the Red Scare, and things like that. The courtroom, you have the jury and things like that. And the, a lawyer can, make any individual, intimidated. They can intimidate, they can intimidate the individual and scare them to the point where they struggle to say anything. And, is it true? Is it true? You see them? You see that person stuttering? That proves, Your Honor, this person is lying. And they're like, oh, genius. It's time for the sheeple to stop being the sheeple, okay? It's time to call out the BS. It's time for a social revolution. In terms of good versus evil, because there's those who don't believe in duality. Oh, that makes you all good and wholesome all of a sudden. If we were going to look at good versus evil, it would be soul versus ego. It would be love versus fear. But in terms of what Cassidy Kane is doing in New Age hierarchy, in any sort of hierarchy, saying that you're not allowed to, feel what is right and wrong in terms of your heart and intuition in a non-hierarchical sense, which, of course, is what intuition does. Otherwise, you wouldn't be using your intuition, would you? Because if anyone says don't care about the well-being of others, don't use empathy, don't use your intuition to figure out the red flags if someone's lying or not, and not even really bring this up, you might as well sweep it under the rug and be and just live in denial and things like that. And maybe I'm being so negative, and no wonder I'm not in union with my twin flame. Oh, tear. And no wonder I get bullied by all these people. It's because I'm not thinking happy thoughts. And that kind of hierarchy and that fear-based sort of thing is fear. Telling you to avoid feelings of, knowing what feels right to you. And you have to feel it in your intuition and stuff like that. It could be either two ways. It could be something that's triggering inside you, and you can do your shadow work. But if you second guess yourself, you're going to be in this endless loop, and therefore you are being, you're being abused. You are being verbally, emotionally manipulated at that point through gaslighting and so forth. And then when you recognize it has nothing to do with me, because I know me, and what they think of me is, it's, why should I care what other people think of me? Because that's really their problem and not mine. So, and you see the red flags. Now I see what's going on. I see clearly, because I feel calm. I feel love and light and unconditional love within my own self. Self-love is key. And then your intuition will come about and things like that, I don't believe anyone should tell me what to do, force me to think a certain way that doesn't feel right to me, and that sort of thing. And then there's people who are so annoyed by social justice warriors. Come on, PC stuff. Okay, grab your guns. It's just... You know what causes violence and stuff like that, and innocent people being killed? It's fear. It's capitalism. And if we want the world to be a better place, my suggestion is to get rid of hierarchy in every area. Spirituality, politics, you name it. Now, when I say get rid of, say if it's media or something like that, we can use that, kind of see that, that was a product of its time. And as I mentioned in my previous video, kind of weigh it out in terms of, if it has creativity in it, if there's, something of value. Likewise, I would have, certain things pinned to my Pinterest, educational resource guide, which is official EC1 on Pinterest. Feel free to check it out. And, people should be able to think for themselves. It's kind of like Monty Python and the Life of Brian. You are all individuals, think for yourselves and whatnot. But, these are definitely tools that would help people, most certainly. And it's personal growth, it's spiritual growth, it's humanitarian, and it's philosophy. Political philosophy, in fact. Perhaps spirituality in all its pure and divine pureness. One last thing I wanted to mention was, because I am an INFP, the whole thing regarding N's versus S's. Now, it is I do believe it is a censor-catered world, and I'm an INFP, and I can most certainly, relate to that aspect. And, perhaps it is true that intuitives are smarter than censors, but the whole idea where it's there's nothing you can do about it, so you might as well take advantage of the censors and cash in on them because they're stupid. Now, this is what anarchists are against. And furthermore, what's interesting is it's this very system that creates censors in the first place. And why do we have to divide people like that? Well, first of all, I see it as a indicator of personality types. But as I was mentioning, when it comes to fascism and authoritarian, hierarchy and things, people are told to pay attention only to their five senses and not listen to their heart and their intuition and their empathy, or maybe it's okay to for the empathy but not your intuition and things like that. It's okay to think spiritual terms but not care about humanity, and all those examples. You can see it through just hierarchies of all sorts, religion, and government, and so forth. Even philosophy, unfortunately, and in the way how people treat each other online and offline. But the thing of it is is, again, we get rid of hierarchy, we're getting rid of the very systems that bring about censors. So, I know there's a belief where, like, all personality types are all the same and things like that, and they're just born that way. And Zodiac, things like that. Well, maybe in a 5D Earth, it's kind of like, the original Dark Crystal, where you have, all the suns line up. Therefore, all the planets and things all line up, equinox or whatever, and, as I mentioned in previous videos, like INFP, Earth Angel, INFPs are like light workers with a mission. Am I hitting on something here? What would the personality type be in a non-hierarchical world? Would there be more intuitives and feelers and things like that? It's kind of interesting to think about. Where other personality types that that would favor hierarchy more, like the STs, the TJs and SJs, most certainly. It's something really to think about. And one last thing I wanted to mention is that I know I have all odds against me. I most certainly stand out. I'm a trans woman. I'm not the skinniest branch on the tree, and I'm working on that. I'm a 31-year-old who plays with puppets and cartoons and things like that. But, if you point out someone's, like, what you perceive to be weak, and, you being the superior and things like that, perhaps that's definitely hierarchical. When it comes to satire, however, totally different. That's more anti-establishment. You're attacking the top of the letter and things like that. And definitely, and also as an intuitive, there's definitely censor type of attitudes that drive me crazy and things like that. But, it's the empathy, it's like people reacting negatively to my films and things like that. But, that's something that they were taught because of this hierarchical system. And also, here's something about spiritual growth and personal growth I'd like to leave with you to end this video. I got into spirituality in 2012. I got into anarchism in the summer of 2017. So it's interesting looking back at all this, really. And the other thing too is it's the 10th anniversary of when I got bullied. Cyberbullied, Dark Triad, cyberbullies, and two who I knew face to face. You can feel free to check out Adults Get Bullied Too to know more about that, as well as my abusive father and his wife. And the thing that I've was my awakening around 2013, 2014 is that I didn't do anything wrong. They had personality disorders, and this was pretty much narcissistic abuse. And then as an anarchist, looking back at all that, it is totally a part of these systems and things like that, But the point I want to make is that when good people join together in unity consciousness and they stand for humanity, they are going to say, you know what, enough is enough, and they're going to outnumber the bullies. When the people united cannot be defeated. And as Bob Crow has quoted, spit on your own and you can't do anything. But if we all spit together, we'll drown the bastards. And to me, spirituality is about liberation. It's not about, obedience to authority and just the submissiveness to it. Out of fear that you'll never reunite with your twin flame. You'll never master law of attraction. I mean, the theory that I have with these teachers is that they know that they suck at manifestation or in twin flame union, or they just simply don't believe in it, and they think empaths are suckers. That's why, you have the right, they think anyone who cares and anyone with emotional intelligence is weak and stupid, which isn't. That's like just how like this authoritarian society is formed. Like money in the system, it is not based on genius or anything like that. It's just it's the 1% that just wants to have power over the world through capitalism and through violence, through fear, and things like that. But the thing about love is on a higher vibrational frequency than hate and fear. And I can most certainly learn those things from spiritual teachers and right back at you just for being a spiritual anarchist. And and it's easier for people to fear than to understand. It's like, would people go around watching this like pretty much an hour video of me talking about things and actually learning about something? Or is someone just going to watch 3 seconds and say, yeah, you're so stupid, and thumbs down, oh, that makes you feel so good about yourself? But the thing of it is like, I was thinking yesterday just how pathetic these bullies are going to most certainly be, and they know that what they're doing is wrong and things like that, but perhaps that's their ego projection. Maybe the more bad they seem, the more they can run away from their problems, and the more they can run away from taking a look at themselves in the mirror. And the thing is like, I regret like the videos that I made, pre 2017, when I was saying the same sort of things I learned from Bob Proctor and Law of Attraction. It's like, if you're poor, things like that, you are manifesting that. And I mean, there could be certain elements of truth within the Law of Attraction, but I was totally unaware of this like hierarchical system. Except me being a satirist, I know there was things that were annoying me, and then that's pretty much the story of my life. I would know the feeling, the intuitive feeling. I know I'm different from the world. I know I have these feelings, but what does it mean? What is it called? What's the definition? Where can I learn more about myself? And I was spiritually guided to come out of the closet. I was spiritually guided to my twin flame, and I have met my twin flame face to face, mind you, and I was guided to wake up more and more to these things. So I don't believe, we're sent to Earth to suffer, but perhaps to help make the world a better place. So this whole the logic and the facts and the science and the da. Who knows if we're gonna have a 3D Earth forever? It could be a 5D Earth. It could be an anarchist revolution. Because I believe a 5D Earth is a 5-dimensional spiritual version of an anarchist society. So feel free to check out officialericcrooks.blogspot.com and check out my websites, officialericcrooks.weebly.com, ericacrooks.weebly.com, and whatnot. And also check out my satirical work. The Erica Crooks Show is celebrating 20 years of satire and crazy humor with puppetry and animation and things like that. Feel free to check out the Pinterest, like I said at the beginning of this video, and the links and whatnot. And if you enjoy what I do, like and subscribe and blah blah blah. So this is Erica, and thank you for watching. And those bullies have no power over me, no matter what. Because, hey, look at Nelson Mandela. He was pretty much jailed, but he had peace from within. Authority can't win. Thank you for watching.